relationship to God is a personal one. Every person, place, and thing, and all the space in between is not only an expression of God, but God itself. At Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont, we believe in spiritual living. Above all else, it is a philosophy that teaches us how to think and not what to think. We invite everyone to practice this philosophy by living in principle. We believe that God is all there is, and each person's relationship to God is a personal one. Every person, place, and thing, and all the space in between is not only an expression of God, but God itself. All love, peace, and beauty that is God exists within each person right now. Together we are all connected as one. Our faith allows us to apply this philosophy to our lives in every moment of every day. As we live in love, we see love revealed and flowing through the world around us. We act as citizens of this spiritual community at all times. This is how we think. We believe in God, we believe in ourselves, and we believe in you because we believe in spiritual living. We are the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont.
Good morning. God is good. Thank you. Call and response works well. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Beaumont. Welcome to those online and in person. First-time guests, welcome. Please pick up a blue welcome packet in the back at the events table. After service, we have a fellowship and meal in Carter Hall. So please consider staying after service. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. God is not going to call you during service. He knows you're here. She knows you're here. And if you do answer it, tell them good morning. Now, let's read our vision statement together. CSLB is an inclusive and transformative community of spiritual practice. Now, our opening song.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, turn around arts, people all over the world, brothers, sisters, around the planet. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Come on now.
Everybody up. Y'all did good, and you look good out there. Great job, everybody. I think you get to. Yes. Woo.
And so, we have a couple of new announcements here. It is Birthday Sunday, so anyone who has a birthday, if you'd put your hand up, we have a gift for you. All right, we've got Marcia back there. Anybody else? Birthday? Okay. Adrian's queuing up our birthday song.
All right, let's do this. Go ahead and play it.
Happy birthday. That's for a free practitioner session.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Whenever you have time
Happy
to schedule.
birthday, all you beautiful faces of God. Happy birthday to you.
And we want to honor our volunteer of the month is Jason. So I think Jason may be in the kitchen working back there, but Jason is our volunteer of the month, and we want to thank him for all that he does. He goes above and beyond, always and always and always. He's a delight to work with. So we're honoring Jason this month.
All righty. And please stay after service, not only for fellowship and for wonderful food, but so that you can meet the minister. He will be here waiting to greet you. We have a good grief support group that meets in the sanctuary every week on Thursdays from 1 to 2:30. For more information, please find it at the events table in the back. Joel Goldsmith. Now, if you haven't read him, you should, because it will be a wonderful time to join with Yvonne Fowler in Sun Lakes. The discussion and the information about it is at the events table in the back. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. I know, it's July, but we're having Christmas in July. The Men's Gay Choir is coming to perform. It's going to be fantastic. The information about it is in the events table in the back. Are you hungry? Do you need to be spiritually fed? Do you need to be regularly fed? We'll be here on Saturday, August 3rd. Reverend Michael and Ross will be hosting a brunch in Ottawa called Divine Dining. Information on the events table in the back. And the CSLB Rainbow Alliance is presenting Esteemable Acts Seminar. That will be on August 3rd. With Francine Ward, who happens to be a practitioner and an attorney. You are not going to want to miss that. And again, if I didn't mention it, please stay after service for fellowship. Now, I am Tommy Jones, your licensed practitioner for today. I will, as well as our other practitioners, will be available over here in the sanctuary. You know what? I really do know how to speak. Y'all worked me out doing that love train. Woo. Please do not leave here today with anything on your heart. If you have something that you'd like for us to pray with you on, please see us after service. That being said, please go ahead and close your eyes. Allow the seat to support you. And allow this meditative song to take you away.
Some words they can't be spoken, only sang. So hear a thousand voices shouting love.
I invite you to be still and know with me that there is only one God. Know with me that that God is right here in this very room. That the peace that comes with that God is here. And that each and every one of us is born in the image and the likeness of that God. It is our birthright to emanate all the attributes of God. And so we claim it. The words I speak for myself, I know ring true for each and every one of us in this room, because we are all connected, each and every one of us. And so today I declare that I am the conductor of the love train. That the love that is within me, I share, because it is the right thing to do. It is how we create a world that works for everyone. I think I can. I know I can. And so here I am in this sacred sanctuary, on this hallowed ground, declaring that today I express and live up to my highest and best potential. I am perfect, whole, and complete as I am. I am enough. And I am very much in love with me. And by starting with being in love with me, then I am able to be in love with everyone else. And for that, I am so, so deeply grateful. I am the face of God, and when I look into everyone else's face, I see it as well. Because we are all born in the image and likeness of God. We are all emanating the essence of God in every moment, in everything that we do. And so anything in us that is a barrier, we release it right here and right now. Anything that is not God, we let it go. We let go and we let God. And so I am so grateful today to be here, to feel the energy, to feel the love. And I'm so grateful to be able to release these words into law, to let them fly on gossamer wings, as in heaven, so on earth. And so I ask you to release these words into law with me, to anchor their truth by saying, and so it is. Amen, amen, ashe, ashe. Now I'd love to introduce to you our very special Senior Minister, Dr. Reverend Michael Curcuru.
And I want to acknowledge that Tommy's mom, Dean, is visiting us today for the first time here in the front row. So Dean, it's our first time at CSL Beaumont. We're delighted that you're here in person. I know you watch online. And Rev Bev did the meditation today, so we're thrilled that Rev Bev stepped into that. And it's a good day of growth and a good day of connection. We have a lot of Sieb, connection. We're talking about connection, and people from other centers. We understand that Sieb, our practitioner Sieb, is watching from Sweden today. So she watched a couple weeks ago, left a message in the box, hi to all of us, and Tommy had a message that Sieb is watching from Sweden. So, hey, CSL Beaumont has expanded to Sweden. That's what I call connection, right? That's connection. So I was thinking about this talk while Tommy was doing her prayer. And it is about connection. It is about the love train. And what I liked about that, everybody in the love train connected. And what I like about the real love train is that positions switch. Somebody starts in the leader, and then they forget that they're the leader, and somebody else kind of leads the procession, and then the person who is the leader is then the caboose, and the caboose is the leader, and you get to be whatever part of the love train you want to be, and that's science of mind. You get to choose to be whatever expression of spirit you choose to be. And when I was in ministerial school, you were invited to, actually, you were encouraged to, actually, you were made to teach youth ministry. It was part of it. We had class in youth ministry, and I taught about a month, I think, at Palm Desert. I was the assistant, but I taught the class and came up with the curriculum. And the first week, I did not connect with the kids at all. And they were running around, and they were rampant, and they weren't drawing like they were supposed to be drawing, doing the things they were supposed to be doing. And the second week, I thought, get down on the floor with them. And I got down on the floor with them, was drawing with crayons and laughing and construction paper and doing all kinds of things. And when I came down to meet them at their level, there was this immediate connection. And the connection wasn't that they came up to my level, it was that I went down to their level of the child within. And I had so much fun. And then my final session, I actually developed a youth script around the train of consciousness and a youth script around the little engine that could, and we read the little engine that could, and they weren't so interested in reading that book. But when Ross brought out his train set, which we put around our Christmas tree every year, we have a train that encircles our Christmas tree, and it's the train that his dad gave to him, and he's passing on to his son. And the kids wanted to run the transformer, and they wanted to be the engineer and the caboose, and we did a train with the train running. So I let the kid and myself out, and I found when I did that, I connected with these children in a way that I never would have if I'd come from the lesson alone. So I think part of connection is meeting people where they are, yes? Meeting people right where they are. Not where we want them to be or where we think they should be, but right where they are. And so one of the ways that we embody that and embrace that and further that at CSLB is that we have a peacemaking group here. You may not have known that. But we have a peacemaking group, but I want you to know that group has been canceled due to unresolved conflict. So in our Powering Your Decisions class this week, and it ends this week, we're in our final week, it went really quickly for me and some great discussions, but what came up, and we always honor what comes up through our power of decision to discuss and be present with what comes up, and what came up last week was the topic of conflict resolution. And where I went with that was, if we bring the word conflict into our vocabulary, then it flavors the dialogue. It changes the vibration of the discussion. And so we went into a discussion about how can we change conflict resolution, which is kind of a term that we all know. How can we raise that in consciousness? How can we meet the term conflict resolution at a higher vibration, at a higher frequency, and a higher tonality of something that furthers peace without bringing in the word conflict? And what we came to realize was that conflict resolution for us became conscious revelation. And I don't know if you can feel into the shift from conflict resolution, we have a conflict that we must resolve, to conscious revelation. And that connection is a connection beyond our intellect, beyond the situation at hand, and that conscious connection, that conscious revelation comes from within. And what I realized when I was working on this talk was that in science of mind and in life, when things come up, they just come up, you can't push them down. Have you tried to push them down, those things you don't want to deal with, those things you don't want to be present with, those things you don't want in your life? So you push them down. You push them down. And that which we resist persists. That which we don't address, that which we don't embrace. And I like to say that which you face becomes your grace. And if you don't face it, then it becomes like a steam kettle. That pressure is holding down. So in science of mind, when things come up, you can't push them down. You cannot hold them back. And you can't hang on to them, baby. You cannot hang on to them, baby. What we can do and be and become in Science of Mind, as we apply that teaching to our life, is we can become creative and not reactive. We can become calming and not storming, and we can become conscious and not conditional. And so our opening slide is about hang in there, and I love this slide, hang in there. And what we can do and be and become in Science of Mind is hang in there. We can hang in there. We can hang in there with what's going on. We can hang in there. We can face it. We can be present with it. We can let it come up, and we can take it into that conscious revelation of what are you trying to teach me? And so we can hang in there. We can hang in. We can hang around. We can hang on to the conscious revelation that it's always about me, and it's never about you. Science of Mind is about moving from the conflict of the conditions in our life, about moving away from that conflict and moving to face into the consciousness of revelations. The revelations of moving from the selfishness of me, it's all about me, to the selflessness of we as a community, to the self-certainty, I like this, from the selfishness of me to the selflessness of we to the self-certainty of one power, one presence, one knowing. And when that came up for me and this talk took a direction that it decided to take, and so when it came up, I didn't push it down. When it came up, I didn't push it away. When it came up, I embraced it. And so what came up for me was the movie Born on the 4th of July. And for me, that movie brings things up like the me of meism. It brings things up to the surface like the we of oneness, and it brings things to the known like the oneness of consciousness. And isn't that what the call of the 4th of July is all about? Isn't that what the cry of the 4th of July is all about? And isn't that what the canon, C-A-N-O-N, not C-A-N-N-O-N, isn't that what the canon, the call of 4th of July is all about? Isn't that what every war that has ever been fought is all about? Isn't that what every war that is being fought is all about? And isn't that what every war that ever will be fought is all about? Wars fought by your grandparents, your parents, your children, your grandchildren. And when will enough be enough? When will be enough that consciousness shifts into that concept of conflict resolution into conscious revelation? The conscious revelation that it's about moving from the materiality of our conditions into the metaphysical spirituality of our consciousness. It's a profound shift. It's a shift that is spoken of in Genesis 11:1-9 in the Tower of Babel. It's a biblical narrative, and according to the story, after the flood, humanity spoke a common language and settled in the land of Shinar. They decided to build a great city and a great tower that reached to the heaven to make a name for themselves. They wanted to show off their great technology. Their tower was taller than the neighbor's tower. Their borders wanted to expand, and they wanted to expand their borders into the neighbor's borders. And they kept building taller and taller to demonstrate how powerful their technology was. But they forgot how powerful their spirituality could be. And so it's a story about putting materiality above spirituality. And President John Kennedy said this: "Our country cannot afford to be materially rich and spiritually poor." John Kennedy said this: "Children are the world's most precious resource and the world's best hope for its future." John Kennedy said this: "Not every child has equal talent. Not every child has equal ability. Not every child has equal motivation. But every child should have the equal right to develop their talents, to develop their abilities, to follow their motivation, and to make something of themselves that they choose to make of themselves." The conflict of war is not healthy for children or other living things. War is about conflict that is based in fundamentalist stinking thinking. Consciousness is based in foundational beliefs and values. The beliefs and values based in love's train of consciousness. And that's our talk title today, is Love's Train. And so conflict is based in fundamentalist thinking. Consciousness is based in foundational beliefs and values. Beliefs and values based in love's power. And that's our talk theme, is love's power. Conflict is based in fundamentalist thinking. And consciousness is based in foundational beliefs and values. Beliefs and values based in love's presence. And so that's our talk theme today. The universe does not care if you were born on the 4th of July, or the 5th of July, or the 6th of July. What the universe cares about is you. The universe is crazy about you. The universe is crazy for you, and the universe is crazy in love with you. The question is, are you crazy in love with the universe? Are you crazy in love with the universe? No, I'm in love with the universe. Are you crazy in love with the universe? Are you crazy in love with you? Not are you in love with you, are you crazy in love with you? And are you crazy in love with love? Are you crazy in love with love? Ernest Holmes was crazy in love with the universe. Flip through the Science of Mind text, open to any page, and he's talking about the universe and the consciousness and the presence of love, right? That presence of love, that consciousness of love, that oneness of love, that spirituality resurrected and rebirthed and reborn from the focus of materiality into spiritual metaphysics, into spiritual consciousness. Ernest Holmes was crazy in love with the universe. He was crazy in love with you, and he was crazy in love with love. That's the first principle of our teaching, is unconditional love. And so, in his final sermon by the sea, at Asilomar, and many of us here today were at Asilomar this August, at the Asilomar Conference, and at the Asilomar Conference ground, it's a place of conscious high watch. It's a place of the high watch of love's train of consciousness. It's a place of the conscious high watch of love's power, and it's the conscious high watch of love's presence. In his final sermon by the sea, given in 1959 at Asilomar, California, Ernest Holmes shared his vision of the outcome of what he called global well-being. And how is that term global well-being transformed into our vision statement at CSL, a world that works for everyone? So he called it global well-being in the 1959, and it expanded to the consciousness of a world that works for everyone. Ernest Holmes shared his vision of the human species and Earth transformed by consciousness. He said it would be transformed by a consciousness of revelation. And we can take any revolution and transform that energy through the power of the revelation of love into the consciousness of love. Ernest Holmes shared this in his final sermon by the sea. Find me one person who is for something, and I love this, who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of their own burden of their soul, and I will find another exalted human being who can raise me up and can raise others up in that high consciousness of love. Ernest Holmes further went on to say at Asilomar, find me one person who no longer has any fear, who no longer has any fear of the universe, who no longer has any fear of spirit, or who no longer has any fear of humanity or of anything else. And you will have brought to me someone in whose presence we may sit, and fear shall vanish as clouds before the sunlight. It's all about that presence of consciousness, that consciousness of moving from conflict into resolution, into revelation. Sarah Bessey shares this. Begin with your against. Begin with your against, and keep going until you find what you're for. Keep going until you find what what you're for. And she says as we move into the finding what we're for, it becomes an act of defiant faith. It will give you something to lean into. It will give you a path to follow. What's your for? What's your for? The path I invite us to follow today is the path of love's train of consciousness. It's the path of love's power, and it's the path of love's presence. And two, the path of love's knowing, as we allow the generic of our conditions to fall away to the genesis of our consciousness, all things become possible to those who believe. As we allow the generic of our conditions to fall away to the genesis of our consciousness, all things become possible to those who believe. And what I believe, and what I invite you to believe, is your own belief. To believe in your own belief, to believe in your own values, to believe in your own certainty, believe in your own soul, to believe in your own heart, to believe in your own presence and passion and purpose of love. And what I believe is that life is about the journey, and it's not about the destination. That life is about love. It's not about the lack thereof. That life is about love, and that life in many ways is like a train. And the poem that follows speaks of life being like a train, and it speaks of it so well. It's called the train of life. Like a newborn child, we must meet each other. We must meet each other at life's station, ready to board, not knowing the destination. Anticipation of the journey ahead. Will everything be on time? Will there be a delay? Will there be a disruption in my timetable that I'm hanging on to by a thread? Our parents guide us in the first carriage we get on, and sitting beside us like sturdy tracks on the line, following the safety signs that so we will be fine. They make sure that we're going to be fine. And now we're middle-aged, and we're on this train of consciousness, and this train of consciousness is moving from station to station to station. It's moving cars as it moves along to accommodate all of that new consciousness, all of that new awareness, all of those new experiences. We keep adding cars of creativity. We keep adding cars of relationships. We keep adding cars of physical experiences. We keep adding cars of consciousness. And so middle-aged, and now we're halfway through our journey. We start to appreciate the scenery more out the window, and we relish the memories more as the train builds up speed. So how many of you have noticed as you get older, my dad always said as you get older, life goes twice as fast, and it costs twice as much. Ross and I will agree. We say it almost every day. Where did the day go? Where did the week go? Where did the month go? Where did this year go? Every day. But we also say, as we get older, life goes much faster, it speeds up. But we also say things don't cost twice as much, they cost 5 times as much. So we're expanding our consciousness to that awareness. And we're adapting to it, and we're doing well. By facing the consciousness, by facing the reality, we get to choose to move through it with our expanded consciousness. So the conductors we meet along the way make sure that we have the right ticket. Some of us end up in first class. Others struggle to find a seat on life's train. It can be a muddle. The wheels of the train are well oiled. As we age through life's journey, we meet our kids. We meet our family as our carriage grows. Feeling sad as time goes by remembering those that had to get off at a stop along the way. Perhaps a stop they didn't want to get off. Perhaps they had to get off the train before they wanted to get off the train. And we miss those people. And we miss those people that were left at stops behind. And as we get closer to our final destination, the announcer tells us we are approaching to get us prepared for what's coming, get us ready to take our baggage with us. We think back to when we first met each other on that platform of life. We think back to each memory that we've experienced on this train of consciousness. And we get out. And we take our final steps onto the platform of life, the platform of new destinations. And as we step out, we are reunited again with all the people we met traveling on life's train, with all the memories of those experiences, and with all the possibilities of new experiences and new adventures ahead. And that's the poem, The Train of Life. And if you'd like it, I put some copies on the back table if you want to pick that up. I kind of liked that when I came across it. It kind of reminds me that life is like a train, right? Life is like a train of consciousness. Ernest Holmes says this of the train of consciousness: someday we shall learn to lay our burdens on the altar of love, that they may be consumed by the fire of faith and the living Spirit. Life is like a train, because it always begins with an engine. Life is like a train because the engine of our life begins with the creative imagineering, the creative engineering of our thoughts. For in science of mind, what we think about, we bring about. What we think about, we bring about. We are the creative imagineers of our life. James Watt invented the steam engine. And remember, we're talking about conscious revelation today. Conscious revelation, not conflict resolution. That's a whole different energy. If we go conflict resolution, then we're bringing in the reality that there's a conflict that needs to be resolved. And why is that human realm? Why is conflict resolution from the human realm? Because in consciousness, there is no conflict. In consciousness, there is no conflict. So we can begin to see if we call something conflict resolution, it's not going to work because that's coming from the energy and the consciousness that created it. So I'm going to sit across the table from you, and I'm going to hold on to what I believe, and you're going to hold on to what you believe, and we're not going to resolve anything. But if you and I take a step back from that table, push our chairs back, start to breathe in a little bit, and here's where it worked for me at my old center at Palm Desert CSL. Someone I was working on conflict resolution was not working. We were both practitioners, was not working. And we came to this place of conscious revelation. And he said to me, let's find something we have in common. Anyway, I have nothing in common with you. You're a practitioner, you're a consciousness, I have nothing in common with you. And I was like into conflict resolution. It was not going to be resolved because I was hanging on to that we weren't anything alike. But he was willing to expand into consciousness and let something drop in. He said, tell me something you like. And I like the beach, and I like traveling, and I like this. And he said, no, I'm not resonating with that, not resonating with that. And then we both looked at each other. This is how this stuff works. And it works when you let it work you. He looked at me, and I looked at him. And I said, and he said at the same time, I like Hellmann's mayonnaise. It's the best mayonnaise in the whole world. At the same time, we went to Hellmann's mayonnaise. You know, sometimes you go to Hellmann's mayonnaise. It found us. We didn't find it. We talked, we resolved our differences, we became supportive of each other. He's a minister at Palm Desert now. I'm a minister in Beaumont. We all moved along our train of consciousness. We all moved along the track that we were on. But remember, the track that we were on is not a track that somebody else laid. We're laying our own track. We're creating our own engine. We're creating our own locomotion. We're moving. Our energy is that emotion. We're creating it. He wanted to be a minister. I wanted to be a minister. My being a minister didn't stop him. His being a minister didn't stop me. Nobody's stopping you. Nobody is stopping you. Nobody is pulling that ripcord, that emergency cord on the train but you. And if you can come to see that emergency cord that you're pulling, how many times have you pulled on that emergency cord of life because life was going too fast? Life was going in the wrong direction. You thought you had the wrong ticket. You were on the wrong train. You were on the wrong plane. You were on the wrong bus, and you reached for that emergency cord. And if we can come to open up to our consciousness and see that emergency cord as an emerge and see chorus. As an emergency chorus, not an emergency chord. Because when we come to move beyond that conflict resolution of emergencies into that conscious revelation of emergency, we can find our way to the Hellmann's mayonnaise. I think this center should tithe about 1,000 jars of Hellmann mayonnaise to Washington, D.C. right now. Just a thought. Just a thought. James Watt was the first to explore boiling water. And how many of you know the story of James Watt and how he found to invent the steam engine? Anybody know? It's a marvelous story of consciousness. He was at his aunt's having tea with her one winter day, visiting his aunt. She had a tea kettle on the stove, and it started to whistle. And he was so fascinated by the steam that powered that kettle flap to do it, he took a spoon, and he could even feel, and he put it in the spout of the tea kettle, and he could feel the force of that energy on the spoon. He could even feel it pulling the spoon back. And he said, there's an amazing creative force here. And he took that power of his observation, and he allowed the power of his observation of human conditions, and he allowed it to go into that divine consciousness where he came to the revelation of the power of steam. And he invented the steam engine. And the scientists in his time, the best scientists in his time, said to him, what speed are you estimating your steam engine go? He said, I think it's going to go 30 miles an hour, which was like supersonic speed then. And the best scientists, the best panels of scientists said to him, people's bodies will explode at 30 miles an hour. You are creating a death machine. And he said, I don't think so. And he created the steam engine. And where does that go and relate to what Tommy was sharing? Connectivity. The reason we love our cars, one, it's a sense of freedom. But two, it's a sense of connectivity. We have the power to get into our car and to drive it anywhere we want to drive it, to visit our aunt, to visit our uncle, to visit our friends from high school. We can get in a car today and drive all the way to Florida. When you get in your car today, where are you going to drive it to? Where are you going to drive your car to? There's a wonderful story about a bus driver. And he had been driving bus in New York City for 30 years. And it was a school bus. He was a school bus driver. He'd been driving the same route for 30 years. One day he let all of his kids off at 3:30 in the afternoon. He and the school bus vanished for 5 days, did not return to the depot. He decided that he was going to write his own ticket of consciousness, right? His schedule said you need to return the bus at 3:30 to the depot where you always return it for 30 years. And he said no. He drove the bus to Florida. The bus company reported the bus stolen. The police picked him up in Fort Lauderdale on the beach, in the bus he'd stolen, sleeping in the bus. And they said, why did you take this bus? And he said, for 30 years, I followed the same routine that I was told I was supposed to follow. And I just didn't want to go back to the bus depot on Friday afternoon, so I drove to Fort Lauderdale. What are we talking about? Divine revelation, yeah. Divine revelation. He honored intuition in a strange way, and this is a true story. And when he got back to, and the bus driver said he can drive the bus back. We trust him to drive. We know where he is. He'll drive the bus back. He drove the bus back to New York. He pulled into the bus depot, and the bus company was going to fire him and fine him and pull his license. And over 2,000 people stood outside of the bus depot and said, this man did what exactly we've wanted to do for 40 years at the job we didn't like. We've wanted to get on a different bus. We wanted to take a different path. We wanted to go to a different destination. 2,000 people cheered, and the board of the corporation, no penalties, no fine. He went on driving the bus, and he said, I just needed to do something out of the normal of routine. When you get in your car today, where are you going to drive it? Where are you going to drive it? When you get in your car today, where are you going to drive your engine of consciousness? And that takes me to this terrible joke about where we're going, right? And it's a terrible joke, but this week's sermon, Jesus walks on water. Next week's sermon, looking for Jesus. So please, wherever you drive your car, do not make us put out a search party for you. So at least stay in touch on your cell phone with somebody. But where are you going to drive your consciousness today? Are your conditions driving your life? Or is your consciousness inviting to make welcome the exploration of your life? That bus driver explored his life. So Charlie Chaplin. And do we have the video clip? Adrian, is the video clip of Charlie up? If we can play this, Charlie Chaplin's whole life was about the train of consciousness.
Now the train draws into Waterloo Station, only a short distance from Chaplin's actual birthplace.
Oh. Okay, let's stop it. It actually, there's a clip There's a clip of a locomotive, but we'll stop it. The clip of the locomotive was probably at the end, and I didn't give you the right link. And anyway, it was a clip of Charlie Chaplin getting off a locomotive that pulls into Los Angeles that he's been riding on in the character. And he gets out of the baggage compartment under the car, and you see all the wealthy people, getting off the train, and then he's way down below in the baggage compartment and barely surviving. And Charlie said that to him it represented the idea of class consciousness, and that was what much of his life was about. And he said about the train of consciousness that in order for the truth to be heard, it must be spoken with love. In order for the truth to be heard, it must be spoken with love. And Charlie also said that in order for love to be heard, it often needs to be spoken in silence. When Albert Einstein went to Hollywood in 1931 for the first time, he said the only person he wanted to meet was Charlie Chaplin. Only person. He could have met anybody he wanted. He wanted to meet Charlie Chaplin. And Albert Einstein said when he met Charlie, what I most admire about your art is your universality. In the silence, you touch everybody. In silence, what did Tommy say? Connectivity. In the silence, you connect through all the noisiness of the world. And he said, you don't say a word, Charlie, and yet the world understands every word you don't say. And Charlie Chaplin responded, it's true. I connect in the silence. But your glory is even greater. The whole world admires you, even though they don't understand a word of what you say. So it isn't so much about the words we speak in volumes or in silence. It's about the consciousness of the engine of our heart. It's about the consciousness of the engine of our soul. And it's about the consciousness of the engine of our thought. Charlie Chaplin was a train of conscious knowing. He shared this of love's power and love's presence. Charlie said this in his time, in his life, and it so applies to the times of our life today. Charlie said this, we have developed speed in so many ways, in so many machines, but in doing so, we have shut ourselves off from ourselves. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical. Our cleverness has made us hard and unkind. And what I see most in my time is that we think too much and we feel too little. More than more machinery, we need more humanity. Charlie said, more than cleverness, we need more kindness, and we need more gentleness, and we need more love. For without kindness and gentleness and love, life will become violent, and all will be lost. Sarah Bessey says this in the need to be for something good and not against something that is wrong. She says, and we're talking about the engine of creative imagineering, right? The engine of your consciousness is the engine of creative imagineering. You're the engine and the caboose and the pilot and the co-pilot and the cargo and the trains and all the experience of the cars that you add on to your conscious train of life. And Sarah says this, imagining and contending for what you hope for in this world is one of the hardest yet kindest paths I've ever discovered out here. In the midst of all this, don't forget to imagine something better. She says, don't forget to dream of what could be possible. And don't forget to live in those hopes with faithfulness. Move in that direction, especially when all you know is not this. When all you're seeing is not this, the not this of love, the not this of kindness, the not this of compassion, the not this of caring, the not this of equality. When that's all you see, remember, don't forget to live in the hopes and faithfulness of your consciousness. Move in that direction, and you will come to your destination. If it helps, Sometimes, she says, I've thought of this as the rhythm of turning away and then turning toward. Almost like a beautiful dance, we turn away from those things we're against and toward the hopeful future we imagine. In a purposeful movement, we turn away from the practices or beliefs or habits that consume us, that threaten us, that reduce us, and that distract us. And then we turn toward what brings flourishing, goodness, and truth to us. Turn away, yes, but always turn toward. What we turn toward should reorient us to the world in a posture of love and joy and service. What are you turning toward? A sunflower always turns to the sun. The sun rises and it follows the sun all the way to the sunset, and guess what the sunflower does the next morning? It turns to the sun, goes to the sunset. And so Daryl Davis is a man who, to me, learned to become a sunflower. When he was in the Cub Scouts, 7, 8, or 9, in the Cub Scouts in, I think it was Michigan. It wasn't the South. I believe it was Michigan. He was the only black boy in the Cub Scouts, and they were marching in a parade in Michigan one day. It was 4th of July parade. Don't know, we'll call it 4th of July because that kind of works into our theme of, it doesn't matter if it's the 4th of July or the 5th of July or the 6th of July, it's the season of your consciousness. And he was walking with 20 or 30 other scouts, and all of a sudden bottles were thrown at him and rocks were thrown at him, and he was kicked and tripped and left bleeding, and the scout leader commanded all the other scouts to surround him to protect him. And he went home, and his father said, what happened? Did you fall down? How did this happen? And he said, I don't know what happened. I was there, and these people were throwing rocks at me, and he thought, oh, they don't like the Cub Scouts, but they weren't throwing the rocks at anybody else. And his father, for the first time in his life, to an 8 or 9-year-old son, that would be a difficult conversation. Explain to him about racism. We all have difficult conversations. But I can't imagine turning to your 8 or 9-year-old son. I can't imagine that. Daryl Davis said he carried that with his entire life. He was afraid to go out in certain neighborhoods. He was afraid to go for the job he wanted. His whole life was ruled by that one incident until he discovered his talent as an American R&B and blues musician, and then he became an activist known for his energetic style of boogie-woogie piano. Davis has played with such musicians as Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, B.B. King, and Bruce Hornsby, and one day he was playing his boogie-woogie style in a bar, maybe it was Atlanta, it was in the South, tiny little bar, and a white man walks in and sits down and begins listening to his music. And the white man, after he plays the set, comes up and says, I would like to buy you a drink. That's the most marvelous music I've ever heard anyone play. And he said, I've never heard a black man play that because that was, Jerry Lee Lewis invented this. And he said, no, Jerry Lee Lewis didn't invent that. That's the black boogie woogie. That's our sound. That's our jazz. And Jerry Lee Lewis and these other people learned it from us. And so the man says, well, I don't agree with you. And he said, well, I know Jerry Lee Lewis, and I'm telling you what I'm telling you. And the man said, I don't care. He found the mayonnaise. They found the Hellmans. The man said, I love your music so much. I don't care if you're black and I'm white. He found a friendship. Over 6 months, this man brought 3 or 4 or 5 of his friends. You got to listen to this guy's music. 6 months later, he realized this man was the head of the Ku Klux Klan. The head of the Ku Klux Klan. And he said, I want to invite you to my home for dinner. And one of the other Klansmen said, be careful because it might cost you your life if you invite this man to your house. He did. The Klans member, and I don't have his name here and I should, went to dinner. The next week, the Klansman invited him to dinner. 2 or 3 years later, the Klansman turned in his hood and his cape and renounced the Ku Klux Klan. And over the last 10 or 15 years, because of Daryl Davis becoming a man who became a sunflower and always turned to that higher good, moved beyond conflict resolution into conscious revelation, 200 members of the Ku Klux Klan have turned their uniforms in to Daryl Davis. They said, we didn't know you were the same as we are. We didn't know you wanted a good life for your family. We didn't know you wanted a good education for your children. We didn't know you wanted the freedom and the equality to live the life that you wanted to live without fear. One person a black man befriended the head of the Ku Klux Klan through their music. They found their mayonnaise. They found their mayonnaise. So when you leave today and somebody asks what happened, you say, well, I found out that science of mind is about finding your mayonnaise. Daryl Davis said this of conflict resolution versus conscious revelation. And that's been our talk today. If you're going into conflict resolution, you're going in conflict. And what do you think you're going to come out with? Because it's your level of consciousness. If you're going into conflict resolution, you're going to come out with conflict. Einstein, you can't solve the problem from the consciousness that created it. But through conscious revelation, all things are possible. Daryl Davis said this, establish dialogue. If two enemies are talking, they aren't fighting. The greatest weapon against hate is education. If you spend 5 minutes with your worst enemy, you will find that you both have something in common. Daryl Davis said, change starts with a conversation. You know, as we end our talk, in fundamentalist thinking, in fundamentalist traditional thinking, and conflict resolution thinking, it's often said necessity is the mother of invention. There's species consciousness at work, right? We all repeated the same phrase because we were all taught to memorize it. That was a perfect example of maybe not independent thought, of going to what we were trained to believe. Necessity is the mother of invention. Yet in foundational new thought teaching, and what we're talking today is the foundations of new thought, the foundations of faith and love and light and truth. And in foundational new thought, receptivity is the father of inspiration. Receptivity is the father of inspiration. Be open to the receptivity of that conscious revelation. Daryl Davis was open to that receptivity of conscious revelation. What is mine to do? And he stepped into, Charlie Chaplin talked about the class system. He talked about in his films. He was consciously revealing to us the way life is. You know, as we move into the receptivity of the Father of inspiration, of that divine revelation, for that which we are willing to receive, we can then come to perceive, and that which we can perceive as possible becomes the everyday ordinary of miracles. It becomes the everyday ordinary of miracles of a world that works for everyone. This week, I invite us to remember it's not about conflict resolution, it's about conscious revelation. This week, I invite us to hang in there, baby, to hang in there with the consciousness of all things are possible. This week, I invite us to remember. Our country can no longer afford to be materially rich and so spiritually poor. This week, I invite us to remember life is like a train. Because it always begins with an engine. Our lives begin with the creative imagineering of the engine of our thoughts. For in science of mind, what we think about, we bring about. And this week, I invite us to remember the following words of Ernest Holmes. Someday. Terry Cole Whitaker says, someday is not a day of the week. Someday we're going to have equality. Someday we're going to have inclusivity. Someday is not a day of the week. Ernest Holmes says, someday we shall learn to lay our burdens. And we have many, many burdens right now on the altar of love, that they may be consumed by the fire of faith of the living Spirit. And so, I invite us to say, I will read it first, and then I invite us to say together from our hearts and our soul, and from that place of conscious revelation, our affirmation. I will say it first. I am the power. I am the presence. I am the purpose of Spirit on earth. And together, I am the power. I am the presence. I am the purpose of Spirit on earth. And one more time, like you really mean it. I am the power. I am the presence. I am the purpose of Spirit on earth. And so it is. If no one today has told you that they love you, CSLB and I, we love you. And if you haven't told yourself today that you love you, why haven't you? Be well. Stay conscious. Namaste. And so ends our talk. Thank you. Thank you. And so we're going to do a prayer a prayer of reconciliation? No, a prayer of recognition, and that's one of our steps, isn't it? Let's go into a prayer of Betty Ann's going, oh good, he's finding his way. She's going to find it. Not reconciliation. Let's give that one up. There's nothing to reconcile. All's perfect in spirit. Nothing to reconcile. And so let's go into a prayer of recognition that in the presence of Spirit is a power to the people on earth. In the recognition of Spirit as love, there is a light for all people shining from heaven to earth and earth to heaven, from our inner souls to our outer world and from our outer world to our inner soul. And know that in this power of recognition of what Ernest Holmes calls Spirit, that we call it conscious revelation, a conscious revelry, a conscious revelation that moves us beyond the revolutions of disparity into the divinity of harmony, into the divinity of the harmony of heaven and earth as one, into the divinity of the harmony of our inner and our outer as one with the all of the grandeur of consciousness, the grandeur of cosmic consciousness, the grandeur of all life's expanding, all life exploring, all life recognizing its power, its inherent power, its invisible power, its indivisible power, to become the engine of consciousness of the life of a sunflower that always follows the sun, to become the life of a gentleman named Darrell who chooses to heal the world and bring the consciousness of all as one to the consciousness of a Charlie Chaplin. We recognize his gift of showing us the world of separation, of class, and of showing us the way that through the silence of our words, we can speak of the power of the presence. Knowing the power of the presence showed up exactly as it showed up today. Maybe not in the way we thought it would, maybe not in the way we would have liked it to have shown up, but the power of presence showed up today. That's what I'm recognizing. I'm recognizing at CSLB we speak the truth, we stand in the truth, we honor the truth, and that truth that we speak and honor and stand up for and stand with and stand behind and speak out is the power and the purpose and the passion and the presence of love. And so it is.
That's what life is about, yeah. Don't you know? This road we travel twists again and again. We can never go back, so keep on looking ahead. I'm here to love you again and again. Find you, remind you to never give in. Never give in. Life is not a fantasy, look closer, look closer. There is a richness beyond what you dream. Your highest self is getting closer and closer. right now. Remember who you are. Come on. You are wise and you are strong. Always all right all along. You will get up and I know you will carry on. Yeah, carry on. Come on. Carry on. Come on. Carry on. You will carry on. Get up. Yeah. Get up. You will carry on. Get up. Get up. Come on. Carry on. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. You will carry on. Carry on.
I invite the ushers to come forward now as we read this. And I invite us to read it together and come from that conscious divinity, that conscious revelation, that conscious knowing, that CSLB appreciates your being here. We love you, we care for you, and thank you so much for helping us do so much good work, and we've just begun. So I invite us to say this together. I give and receive freely and generously with an open heart and an open mind. The universe responds to me in kind. I know that my beloved community is richly blessed, and so it is. And if you're watching, if you're on our Love Stream community, Steve, if you're watching, you can text to give to 951-420-6909, or you can go to our website, cslbeaumont.org.
Gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, 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 I'm so grateful. Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me.
Know that we carry that wherever we go, and we carry that in our consciousness, and we steer our consciousness with prayer.
It's dead.
And we steer our consciousness with prayer. And so when you get in your car today, maybe you don't want to go to Fort Lauderdale, but maybe with your engine of consciousness, that locomotion of consciousness, that train of consciousness, maybe you want to drive down a different street on the way home. Maybe you want to stop at a different convenient market on the way home. Maybe you want to stop at a different restaurant on the way home. Maybe you want to stop and see a neighbor you haven't stopped and seen for a long time and knock on the door and say hello. So it's your engine, it's your locomotion, it's your train of consciousness to do with as you please, as you choose, and know in that train of consciousness, that engine of Imagineering, that as you believe, so it is. And so I invite us to circle up. We're going to do our Circle Up song and sing our way out. We have 1 Minute Miracles over here. If you don't leave with anything heavy on your heart, we have food in Carter Hall. I believe it's hot dogs, hamburgers, chili, apple pie, berry pie. So we've got good stuff back there. So everyone's welcome for Carter Hall. And let's sing our way out. is called the train of consciousness, which we allow our engine of imagineering to create the life we live, to vision we live, and to be the presence of Spirit in all of our voices, in all of our expression, in all of our vitality. And together we say, and so it is.
Okay, everybody, if there's anybody left outside, please come on in.